Board. Join me for the pledge. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. That'll be a little better once we're back in person. We'll start off with the roll call tonight. Check that we have our board members present. Peter?
Here.
Ben? Oh, I saw Ben.
Ben is here.
Oh, he's muted.
Yeah, he's
Ben.
muted.
Sorry about that. Here.
Nicole?
Here.
Bob?
Here.
Joan?
Here.
Ahmed?
Here.
Okay, that we have a full board of 7 members tonight, and I wanted to just introduce Ahmed Katnani. He's just got appointed as a new alternate member for Ward 5, and he's filling in for Rocco tonight. So welcome, Ahmed, and glad to have you with us.
Hey, Ahmed.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Happy to be working with you guys.
Ditto.
All right, now let me get to the first order of business. Is our tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the Open Meetings Law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view and participate in tonight's meeting by computer, smartphone, or telephone, and to view the meeting on the usual cable television channels. The recording of the meeting will be posted to the town website, and a written transcript of the meeting will be prepared and provided at a later date. There has been a roll call of the board members, and there is a quorum present for this meeting. And I've also confirmed with the secretary that this meeting has been duly noticed. We have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting a copy of the notice of the meeting on the town's webpage and on the town's bulletin board. We have emailed a copy of the notice to the media, and we have confirmation that the legal notices for the public hearings have been properly published. All right, thanks everyone. Our first application is Stewart Shops at 2245 South Road. And who's here representing that tonight?
Alec Glad and Chad Fowler.
Okay, Alec Glad and Chad Feller. Okay. This has been on here a few times. I just want to, and it's on for a public hearing tonight. So I move that the planning board open the public hearing for this project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, I want to hear comments, any additional comments from the audience. Remember, we still have your comments from last time are still on the record. So we're looking for any additional comments you may have. And we have the normal 3-minute comment limit. So,
All right, I have a raised hand from iPhone 323913. If you want to unmute yourself and then just let us know who you are.
Yeah, David Robinson.
Thank you.
all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are other areas in the town where Stewart can relocate, and they would only need a few variances. You should consider these areas because they're larger and would fit better and be further from homes and better for the environment than building a gas station 73 feet from a house.
Can you get it,
Hundreds of,
David, can
Hello?
you get a little closer to the mic? It's a little bit hard to hear you.
can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay. Hundreds have now sent letters against this project, and I think the people should have a say. The town board said 500-foot rule is the law, and we should be even looking at this project because we shouldn't even be looking at this project because they want 73 feet from a home. Thank you.
Not yet. What do you mean yet? I'm not standing. Okay, good show.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
going to mute that person's microphone. I'm sorry. Wait one
Someone was talking over you. Did you have anything else, David?
No, that's all I had.
All right, appreciate
hear
your
what I
comment. Thanks for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Members, you can do *6 to unmute your phone, or *9 to raise your hand, or use the hand raising function on the Zoom call.
Mr., what is it, Warner? I know you were unmuted a moment ago. I'm going to try to, can you unmute your phone or your video? Mr. Warner, can you unmute your screen there? There we go.
there you
Excellent.
are.
That's fine. Thank you.
All right, go ahead with your comments.
No, Mr. Warner, did you have comments, Mr. Warner?
Yes. My name is Nathaniel Parrish. I've appeared before you on this matter before, and I think my resume is in the record. I've previously provided comments to your board with regard to this application. My comments tonight supplement those of previous comments.
Okay,
Your board, as the secret lead agency, is considering whether to make a positive or negative determination with respect to whether this project will or will not have one or more potential adverse significant environmental impacts. I stress the word potential. The secret regulations include a list of the environmental impacts that you must consider in making your determination. If one or more of these project impacts are on that list, then your board must make a positive declaration, which would in turn trigger the need for a full environmental impact statement to be prepared. One of the impacts to be considered is whether or not the project, as presented, meets all relevant laws and regulations. Clearly, the reason this is on your agenda tonight is because of the recognition that the project requires an additional variance not previously considered. That's the variance related to the requirement that the project must be located on a site that is at least 2 acres in size. Since the project site clearly and unquestionably does not meet that requirement, a major variance will need to be considered. Thus, at this time, this project is clearly not permitted under the town zoning code. It is thus a significant potential adverse impact that must result in a positive declaration. But the vastly undersized lot creates in turn a number of other potential adverse CEQA impacts. Those include air quality, impervious pavements, which lead to increased stormwater impacts, increased stormwater pollution impacts, and certainly impacts on community character, which vastly depart from the intent of the comprehensive plan and the zoning code. Thus, there are a number of other potential impacts that your board must recognize. The CEQA regulations provide that even if you consider some or all as minor, not significant, your board must then consider whether or not collectively as a whole, given a number of minor impacts, the project will generate a significant adverse impact. I stress at this point that your board is not reaching any final conclusion about whether the project, perhaps with mitigation, will or will not have an adverse impact on the requirement, on the environment. That decision can only be made after a full environmental impact study has been conducted, all of the environmental factors studied in detail, mitigation studied, and any possible alternative study. The needed process about which I've attached is not optional. It is what is required to meet the CEQA regulations. The failure to meet these regulations would be a clear violation of the hard look test and would negate any future decisions that your board or other boards would make with respect to this project. In summary, your board must make a positive declaration. Thank you.
all right, thanks for your comments, Mr. Warner. Just for the record, what's your first name?
It's Mr. Parrish, actually. What's the first name? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this matter? If you can raise your hand. All right.
I'll wait till everyone else will speak first, but I'll speak for everyone else.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing anybody else, so if you'd like to come up.
Yeah, we have someone in the room here, so.
I would like to speak.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
We'll let,
My name is Linda Mack, and I live at 206 Over Rocker Road, and I am standing in solidarity with the people at this proposed Stewart's gas station store, because we're dealing with the same thing with the town of Poughkeepsie. And the previous speaker, I agree with everything he says. Their project should not be allowed there. Our project should not be allowed there. And I hope, sincerely hope, you have to do a full study. No gas station within 500 feet of a residential area, which clearly is being violated in both of these sites. And I really hope that you do all due diligence and do the correct thing. Thank you very much.
all right, thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the Zoom call wishes to make a comment?
Yes, Jim Breeze, my hand is raised, actually.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, my name is Jim Breeze. I live at 215 Over Rocker Road. I'm here this evening to support the residents of Southgate in their attempt to stop the Stewart's gas station from being built next door to their homes. The zoning codes were put in place to protect the residents from this type of development. Why are the multiple developers who want to come into the town of Poughkeepsie break the zoning code in order to put their projects on lots where they don't belong? Stewart's knew this full well coming in, that the zoning codes wouldn't allow them to put this project there. So I just wanted to say that I stand with the residents of Southgate and trying to stop this project from moving forward. Thanks.
All right, thanks for your comments. Anyone else, Mike, you see? Any other raised hands?
I'm not seeing any raised hand. There's a couple people on the phone, and just as a reminder, you can use *6 to unmute yourself or *9 to raise your hand if you're on the phone. But I'm not seeing anybody else.
And wish to comment on the Stewart's project?
I guess we should allow a person here.
Seeing none, yet we have someone in the room here for comment.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Eric Cole. I'm associated with King & Bean. I'm here on behalf of Omol Inc. We've been coming to these meetings now for several months. Myself and numerous members of the public are obviously opposed to this project. We've been raising both procedural and substantive arguments. Quite honestly, I'm not sure they're being heard. First, we raised the argument that the need for a variance for the 2-acre requirement. That was unheeded for several months until the town finally came around on the idea, which is why SECR was reopened, as we said was required, and why we are all here today. Well, a few of us are here today. Next, we raised the argument for the need for the applicant to comply with the requirements of the Crown Heights Overlay District, which clearly applies here, pursuant to the black and white language of the code. No opinion from the town has been rendered on this matter, and a secret vote cannot be held until it is resolved. Do you board members know the answer? And if so, why not state it publicly? Why don't we know? The town board requires a gas station in the B-H district to be placed on a minimum lot size of 2 acres.
Mr. Cole, can I just interrupt for 1 second? I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to begin again. I know you're reading from the statement,
Yeah.
and only because I realized that the microphone in front of you was off for the beginning.
one?
So, no, they're both now working.
Start over?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry, there, no one was in the room when you
Want to make
came
sure
in,
it's on the,
That's okay.
on the
So
record.
we didn't have
All
it
right,
set.
I'll start over again.
Thank you.
I'm
Sorry.
Eric Cole from King & Bean. I'm here on behalf of Omol Inc. We have been coming to these meetings for several months now. Myself and numerous members of the public are obviously opposed to this project. We've been raising both procedural and substantive arguments. I'm not sure they're being listened to. First, we raised the argument for the need for the variance for the 2-acre requirement. That went unheeded for several months, until the town finally came around on the idea, which is why SECR was reopened, as we said was required, and why we're all here today. Next, we raised the argument for the need for the applicant to comply with the requirements of the Crown Heights Overlay District. which clearly applies here pursuant to the black and white language of the town code. No opinion from the town has been rendered on this matter, and a secret vote cannot be held until this is resolved. Do you board members know the answer? And if so, why not state it publicly? Why don't we know? The town board requires a gas station in the B-H district to be placed on a minimum lot size of 2 acres because they recognize the potential adverse effects that go along with such projects. When considering the lot size variance in totality with the rest of the variances, the side lot variances, and the variance from the 500-foot buffer from residential properties, we have certainly raised enough potential adverse environmental impacts. We have checked enough boxes that a positive declaration should be adopted for this project. In the past, just last June, documents were made available for public viewing supporting the adoption of a neg deck, or negative declaration. While we disagree with the merits of these documents, at least the process had an appearance of transparency. There are no such documents in the current packet supporting the adoption of any amended negative declaration, taking into account the new variance, which is in contravention with past practices and the open meetings law. I'm not suggesting anything untoward is happening here, but it's a matter of process. I don't even know if you're aware of what you're voting on in terms of secret today, or if you've been made aware of any potential adverse impacts when including the lot size variance, and again, viewing all variances in their totality as required by the secret law. As you know, any reports or documents that you utilize to base your secret determination must be made available to the public pursuant to the open meeting law. As none are currently in the packet, I assume none exist. Without such basis, a determination by this board that the new variance from the 2-acre lot size requirement will have no adverse impacts is to substitute your judgment for that of the town boards, which is beyond your purview. Studies, reports, and documents upon which the secret determination will rely on must be made available to the public to avoid the appearance that this board is simply rubber stamping this project. Secret determination must be adjourned till the public is so informed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Eric? Anyone else?
Again, if you're on the phone, you can use *6 to unmute, *9 to raise your hand. If you're just on your computer, buttons are at the bottom. I'm not seeing anyone else.
All right, we'll have another opportunity to comment. I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to November 19th, 2020.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any board members opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, go to Mrs. Kristen's project.
Thank you, Carl. Staff is recommending that the board discuss the application and adopt a seeker resolution as was previously done. This readoption includes the 2-acre minimum lot variance that needs to be required.
All right.
Or it needs to be documented within our secret negative declaration.
All right, thanks. Let me go around the board then for comments, see if anybody has any. Ben?
Nothing at this time.
Nicole?
Nothing at this time.
Joan?
Nothing at this time.
Bob?
Nothing from me at this time.
Ahmad? Oh,
Didn't hear you
you
there.
might be on mute, Ahmad. There you go. Did you have any comments tonight?
We're not hearing your voice. I don't know if you're using the headphones, maybe? Is that why? There we go.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Any comments?
Nothing from me.
Nothing?
Nothing
Okay.
right now tonight, okay.
Thank you.
And Peter?
Just one question for Lisa, and that is, are we voting tonight, the negative declaration, it will be conditioned upon the ZBA's approval of the diminished lot size?
The negative declaration assumes that it addresses the need for the variances and addresses the environmental effects of those variances, but it is not technically a negative declaration, a condition negative declaration, because for that to be the case, this board would be imposing conditions. So what we've done is we've drafted the negative declaration and analyzing the variances that were needed and the impacts of those variances on the environment.
When is the ZBA going to address the issue of the diminished lot size?
At its next meeting, which will not be the October meeting, it will be addressed by the ZBA during its November meeting.
That would be around the first week of November?
It is I believe, the second Monday in November.
I'm just wondering if it wouldn't make more sense for us to wait until after the ZBA made their decision before we voted on a negative declaration.
Procedurally, the board, as lead agency, the ZBA is unable to make a decision until this board has rendered its environmental assessment. So you need a determination of significance by this board before the zoning board can make its determination.
So if the ZBA issues, if the ZBA determines that the diminished lot size is not acceptable, what happens?
They would deny the variance and the applicant would need to reconfigure its project.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Peter.
Can I make additional comment for you, vote?
We adjourned the public hearing already.
Just wondering why the neg deck wasn't made available.
It's in our packet. I don't know how it didn't get. All right, I had nothing additional comment myself. The ZBA meeting will be before our next meeting, so we'll see what their determination would be if we move forward. Is there a motion out on the floor?
I move that the planning board determine that the proposed Stewart's 2245 South Road application would not have a significant adverse impact on the environment for the reasons set forth in the seeker negative declaration for an unlisted action dated October 15, 2020.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Ben?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye. Can you hear me now?
Yep. And myself, aye. Motion passes 7-0.
I move that the planning board defer further action on this application and direct the applicant to respond to comments of planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, included but not limited to the following 1 through 10.
Second.
Moved and seconded to defer. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 7-0. All right, next project up is Eastdale Village, 11th site plan amendment.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members. How are you?
Hey, Jeff?
I'd like to share my screen if I could and talk about the 11th Amendment.
All right, yep, go ahead.
So the 11th Amendment really involves, I can get my screen to move here. Right. Really involves three things. It involves a new building O2 on the former Ortega lot. It involves a special permit extension onto that building, and it involves a subdivision for a couple of lots on Eastdale Avenue North. I put this screen up here, which is kind of the summary of the total uses and total square footage on the site, just as a reminder that the addition of this building on the Ortega lot doesn't change the overall project square footage in terms of commercial space, doesn't change the number of residential units or bedrooms. It really is a switch of some other uses onto this lot to, we think, better use the space and have a better project. Let's start with the site plan. This is the overall site plan for the west side, and the area we're talking about is currently right here, the former Ortega lot, right across on Route 44. It's in between the previously proposed bank, Building F, and the Otto Frank parcel. And just to blow up that view a little bit, you can see it here. With the commercial building. Again, there's two-story commercial on the first floor, residential above, and the parking area in front. One of the things we did with the layout here is keep the building in line with the other buildings that are on the Route 44 frontage further to the south. And so the setback from the property line is 20 feet is the same. So again, it had the same kind of feeling as you're driving down 44 and how you would see this building. And we've kept the same plaza idea on this building for a use as outdoor space as may be needed by the particular tenants in there. Couple of the questions that were asked, and I just want to kind of address these briefly, is one is where is the refuse container for this building? Again, remembering that this is an overall site, it's not a single lot, but the refuse, commercial refuse, is up here in the corner, which is just behind the Frank garage. There's also refuse here that would either be used by the bank building or the O2 building. So there's two refuse areas. This refuse area here is a residential refuse area. It's not would not be available to the commercial users. And the second relates to this interconnection between this property and the Frank property. Now, this property right now has its own curb cut onto 44. We were abandoning that and keeping the access to this lot really internal. This interconnection predated when we bought the property. It's strictly a convenience for Mr. Frank. He's been known to come in and out of his site with a trailer hauling stuff in and out. It just makes it more convenient. If the board doesn't like that opening there, we're keeping the chain, keeping the bollards up so it's not open for anything. It's just a convenience to Mr. Frank. So I didn't want it to really cause a lot of issue with the board. We thought it just made sense to be a good neighbor. We'll close it down if that's what the board would rather see. So then the other questions are really related to, I think, how this internal circulation works. And I'd like to just take a minute and take the board back to kind of our beginnings of our thoughts on this project. And this goes back to when the Ortega property first became available and a possibility for Eastdale Village to incorporate it in the site. Well, what could we do here? And this was an early sketch that we had done, and what you see here from left to right is the E buildings that border on Eastdale Avenue all the way over to Elizabeth Lane, where the bank building is here. And so this was one thought, again, keeping the buildings in line, so the view down 44 remained the same. Parking fields behind, shielded, but enough parking to satisfy the needs here. So that became kind of the first hard look that we did at what could happen. And then got a little more focused in. Well, the Frank property is not really available to us. So, but we would like to keep that, keep the relationship between the building on the Ortega property with the E buildings. So we kept that building in that arrangement. Maybe we have a similar building over here on the next lot. Maybe we have the bank. We're not sure. Those buildings are, we don't have tenants, but we wanted to keep that as an option. And what became consistent in these views was the parking layout and the interconnection between the lots. And so you can see, I'll go back again, you can see how the parking aisles lay out across those lots to provide good parking. And so that's what we kept in the layout here, and worked to integrate the parking with either a bank or two other commercial buildings, one or two other commercial buildings. And so now we have what's proposed before you is right now in the phase, we're proposing to build the parking as the first work. We are short commercial parking on this side of the street, and so these 53 spaces that we're proposing to add would provide significant parking for the users, and then as we are able to identify the specific users on either in the O building or here on the F building, then we have areas in which to be able to place those buildings and work with a coordinated parking layout. And again, I can go through this in any level of detail the board wants, but just to kind of get you our thoughts on how this was developed.
All right, appreciate
Again, there also is expansion of special permit. The board will recall a special permit was granted on the whole of Eastdale Village for what's required in this zone, which is that a mixed-use building with non-residential uses on the first floor is a specially permitted use. And that's the design of building 02. Again, commercial below, residential above. It requires an extension of the resident uses. And then the last piece that we're looking for is subdivision of lot 13 WB, which is next to Rossi's Deli. It's buildings A3, 4, 5, and 6. Buildings A3 and 4 in the red here would be on one lot. Building A5, it's on its own lot, that's in the blue, lot 13 WB2, and lot 13 WB3 would be the home for building A6. So again, it's a subdivision, so there can be actually owners of A5 and A6. They wish to own and build their buildings, and so this is to facilitate that process. So those are the highlights of the project. Again, happy to spend time with the board on some of these issues. There were some, again, questions raised in the staff comments that we'd like to address at the appropriate time. But thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Let me go to Eric first. His comments.
Sure. Let's see, this is first appearance of the 11th site plan amendment and special use permit and subdivision before the board. The staff feels effectively with the comments that we have here, the board could either move forward with a conditioned approval, or if it wants, there's some specific comments, if it wants to see a layout, they could ask that it come back to the board. Staff could be comfortable either way, depending on the discussion. For the record, we had noted Dutchess County Department of Planning comments required by general municipal law were received just today as a matter of local concern. So that will not hold up any action by the board. With regard to seeker, we didn't see any particular seeker issues, and it appeared to correspond to the recent amended seeker determination by the board for the overall development. Nothing here appears to change the seeker assessment there, according to Jeff's summary that was submitted. And if you agree, there's language for a seeker, a determination of consistency by the board. As far as the more particular site plan issues, you have our comments. There's a bunch of technical ones. The main one had to do with the layout of the new lot for Building 02 and the parking. I did speak with Jeff earlier. Thank you for showing this. The layout with the frontage along Route 44 does look quite attractive. Staff agrees that that kind of parking circulation, it makes sense to plan for that kind of coordinated access for the building. That said, the plan before the board has a different layout for the adjacent bank building. So there ought to be some mechanism to reconcile those two things, because otherwise the board is approving the plan as it is before you. I did speak with Jeff about a mechanism in the phasing plan that might accomplish that, to basically require that the amended plan come back for the board for a revised layout of the bank lot next door before proceeding with any construction on that lot. That would be one measure to permit it to go forward. That said, the board may still want to, you may still want to talk about the circulation a little bit with the applicant. Also about the amount of impervious proposed for Building 02. I think that's pretty much it. There were some other technical comments. It's not, there may or may not have been some changes in the plan that we didn't see because they weren't marked out as changed. For example, Jeff identified to me there are some lights on the east side for the Victory Lane connector road between Victory Lane and the new development. They're now proposing lights for that sidewalk, which makes sense. But there may be some other things we'd like to review, and we've reserved comment on those once they're identified. So otherwise, we're recommending the board go ahead with a conditioned approval or ask for an alternative view.
All right, thanks, Eric. Don, do you have any comments for engineering tonight?
Yes. I think our biggest comment, which we discussed the other day on Tuesday, is the fact that we still haven't seen any SWIP information, especially regarding the porous pavement, which at this point probably is, besides being an unknown, we probably think it probably will work, but without any information at all, we have a little hesitancy about moving ahead.
All right, thanks, Don. Let's see, it is on for a public hearing. So I move we open the public hearing for this project.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Is there anyone in the audience tonight who wishes to comment on this project? Remember, if you're on the phone, you can *6 to unmute yourself. Or raise your hand through the Zoom call.
Seven 9-7 is Don, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody.
All right, I'm going to decide, let's go around the board before we decide whether to close or adjourn it. See what people's prerogatives are. Don had some concerns. Let's start with Peter.
A question for Eric. We're looking at a subdivision here of lot 13 WB into 3 lots. My question is, it's a fairly complex undertaking. How do we review those lots in terms of how do we look at them, or is it just can you help me out here? I mean, the reason I asked that question is that earlier someone had asked a question about the refuse containers, and the response was from Jeff that refuse containers are being shared. But if the lots are subdivided and you have individual ownership, they're no longer shared. Or will there be like a maintenance agreement on the project so that refuse containers by individual lot owners will be shared and they won't be required to have them on their own lot?
Good question. And for many common commercial developments over multiple lots, that would be a very important question. In the case of this development, there's a reciprocal agreement across all of the parcels involved in the development that covers shared parking, access, pedestrian access, trash, snow removal, and a host of other things. So the issue with regards to trash becomes a matter of if the board is comfortable with the layout of the trash with respect to all of the uses as shared.
Jeff, have you thought about an association?
Well, I think essentially it's how it works. The reciprocal easement document establishes a what's called an operator, and the operator has rights and responsibilities to be able to take care of things like plowing and landscaping and garbage removal. And so we've again worked on the site plan as one integrated plan, and that's what's led to the location of the various both commercial and residential dumpsters. And so the individual lot owners have the right to take their garbage there, that it's carried away, and the costs are borne by the variance. So it works like an association, but it's just a little different verbiage.
Okay, they have the right to do that, but is that an option or an obligation?
Well, they don't have to take their garbage to the dumpster. They can take it home with them. So I mean, but so the question may be, well, can they petition this board to put a dumpster on their own property? Is that the question?
We want to know, since they're going to own the lot,
right?
Who's going to be responsible?
Who's going to be responsible for what exactly?
Just for instance, since you brought up their trash removal, who's going to be responsible for the trash removal if they decide that they don't want to opt into your offer?
They don't have a choice. They're going to be charged regardless, right?
Okay.
They're charged a rate regardless for garbage removal. It's based on the cost divided up amongst the lots in a pro rata share. So they will use the garbage, right? That's what's going to happen there.
Will that be a deeded obligation?
It already exists, Peter.
It does. Okay.
There's a document called a DRE, a Declaration of Responsibility.
Reciprocal easements.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Right.
And it already exists, and it obligates every lot in the district that is under this common development scheme. So it's already in place. So as these lots get further subdivided, they are still within the purview of that agreement that's been recorded with the Dutchess County Clerk.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And I just want to follow up on Don's comment. I think we should, I think we're obligated to see a SWIP before we move forward.
Right. One of the things that certainly for approval, I understand, and Don, to put him at ease a little bit, we did do soil tests before we went down the road of pervious pavement, and Insight has done the calculations and it works, and we'll get that all over to you. But we wouldn't have gone down this road without having done some of that preliminary work, and we'll get that over to you.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. And thanks for clarifying, Lisa. Move on to Ben. Any comments?
As long as the layouts on the bank are not significant and Mr. Frank has his access, I think is a good idea. And the last thing is that Don is comfortable that we can move forward. I don't have a problem.
All right, Don was not, Don thought we should have a SWIP though before moving forward, so. All right, let's see, Nicole?
Were you thinking about doing any further landscape with, what is that lot OR2 that has all that pavement around it? What is all that pavement for anyway? Is that going to be a restaurant or something? Is that going to be outside seating or something?
Right.
I'm just curious.
There is no tenant identified for that building.
Okay.
It's, the placement of the building was again meant to continue the pattern of development along 44, which we think is part of what makes Eastdale special. So it could be outdoor seating. We certainly, and it was a I thought a very good comment from staff that we need to bulk up the landscaping there because it looks a little barren.
Yeah.
To be honest, right?
Absolutely.
So we'll bulk it up. But the use of outdoor spaces, and it's not just COVID related, but it is certainly certainly is important now. But we see that there has become a much larger use of outdoor space generally, and hardscape done well is attractive. It's used, and it's important. And again, this kind of matches the plazas that we have at Eastdale Avenue. Those two corner buildings A and E. We really kind of matched that here. The difference is we've got more landscaping on A and E than we've got here. And we need
Right, you have more grass and things of that sort. You know, I've been onto the site a couple of times, and you see a lot of people just sitting on that grass. So, you know, I know you probably don't want to, but if you wanted to put a little bit of grass in front of that building area, that'd probably be a good idea. You'd probably get more people kind of hanging out and stuff like that. But you know, I think definitely some type of landscaping just to make that a little bit, you know, look a little nicer.
I think we need to make it more usable. I think more landscaping. I think we need to show some benches there. I think we need to just make it a little more of an activated space. I think you're
right. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
Sure.
All right, thanks, Nicole. I agree with that one. Let me check in with Bob for comments.
Nothing additional from me at this point.
All right, thanks, Bob. Joan?
Hi there. On the layout plan, it shows a proposed privacy fence between the Frank lot and the O2. Is that fence proposed, or is it part of the plan going forward?
It would be proposed, yes, as part of this reworking of that lot.
Okay, and would the neighbor's access still be maintained? Would you be able to do that with a fence?
So the fence would run back from 44. There's room for their curb cut access onto 44. So the fence will start and would run back to the point where we've shown the flush curb in between the two lots, and the fence would end at that point. Is that the question?
Yeah, more or less. And have you spoken with Mr. Frank about that arrangement for it to stop there, or at least for maintaining that access for him?
Right. We've in the past talked to him about it. I haven't talked to him about it in the past year, but I know that was one of the things that he liked to have was that access, and I can certainly have another conversation with him. But we just, you know, again, it really wasn't for us. It was for his use, and that's what we thought it made sense to keep it.
And then does the fence pick up again on the other side of the curb cut?
You know, I have to look at the plan. I can't remember if it picks up again. Can I just share screen for a second?
Sure.
Yeah,
I think
it does. If you look
does.
if you look closely, it shows the break in the fence there.
And then it picks up again?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it does show a break, and then it would
yes,
pick
right,
up.
right. Yes, it does pick up again. Right. I couldn't remember if it.
It's tough on the size of plans we have.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to make sure that that was part of it, I guess, but that he would also continue to have the access if that's what he wants to have. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Any other comments, Joan?
No, none for me. Thank you.
All right. And next up is Ahmed.
Nothing at this time.
All right. Thanks for joining in. My comments were similar to Nicole's, I believe. Yeah, that hit me right away when I saw the site plan was the lack of landscaping there. But you don't have a use made up for the building yet, so that's maybe what you're doing there, but you have to look into that. And my other concern is what Eric has brought up about the parking. You know, I like that you're connecting all the lots with parking flow, but there's a contention between the drive-through of the bank there and the current parking coming out there, it looks like to me. Could you say anything more about that? If we maybe could rework the bank a little bit, or?
Sure. If I could just share the screen again for a second, if that's.
Yep. If you could show how it flows, that might help us interpret this.
Right. So, you know, one of the things that I was really trying to avoid was spending your time and spending our time on a redesign for something that we don't know what it's going to be, right? We don't know what Building F is going to ultimately be. And we could show you a redesign that's got the parking and a little different. We could, but still keep the drive-through. We could close off the parking at the edge of O2, but we thought the interconnection was really important, and thought that, in fact, you know, this parking flow really kind of works, and so it's counterclockwise around Building F, and if someone comes down the aisle here, there's signage. We're probably missing a stop bar here, but signage tell them all they can do is make a right turn. Same thing, all you can do here is make a right turn. But we thought it was good to have that interconnection between the two rather than limit it. You know, and that's one of the things that I was talking with Eric about earlier. We know that we're going to have to come back to you before we end up with a final design on Building F. The chances of a bank matching 100% this kind of magical box that we drew here are pretty slim. We know we're going to come back, and I would like to address, you know, those specific concerns when there's a specific tenant there. Again, this is a concept. We think it's a workable concept. Stuff can always be different, and it can certainly be improved. Just didn't want to spend the board's time going through another iteration of a site plan that won't be built. And so we're trying to focus on, well, what do we know we'd like to build right now that will work with many different layouts, and that was really the what's proposed in the phase plan. It's really the parking in this area.
All right. And I'm also wondering about a little bit of more landscaping in the parking lot itself.
Yes,
and
absolutely,
island,
and more landscaping. Yes, unquestionably.
Not just the lights.
Right.
You might lose 2 spaces or something to do a little landscape island there, but.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Can I? Oh, this is Eric. I just wanted to point out that again, as I mentioned earlier, I have no objection to the applicant's goal to do that circulation and come back, as long as there is it's clear that there's conditions to be, as a condition of approval, that there be a mechanism in place to ensure that revised layout occurs before construction, because as it's proposed right now, the applicant, as far as I know, would have the right to pull building permits for that Building F without any obligation to return to the board.
Yeah, we got
so that would be an obligation to return to the board for the revised Building F. That would be adequate, I think, to revisit it at that time. And then so that's one point. And then the other is I just wanted to ask Jeff, before the board considers action, I had noticed that it looks like Building A6 is adding a 3rd story, and Building E4 has got about half the commercial square footage as before. And I just wondered if you could just maybe verify or explain that for the board in case there's anything to be considered. There may not be anything to consider at this time, but I wasn't sure what the reason for that was. And if you could just share that with the board, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, let me just show those buildings just so it's we all know which buildings we're talking about.
Yeah, we had looked at the architecture that,
Let's see if I got building E4, that's the building here. If everybody can see my cursor. That building originally had a basement. They no longer want a basement, so the commercial square footage in that building was reduced, I think by, I don't have that number in front of me. I think it was like 1,500 and some odd square feet. Yeah, right, was removed from that building's commercial square footage. The building looks exactly the same because nobody ever sees the basement. So, building A6, which is the last building, the end, I'm sorry, yeah, A6, the end cap here, next to, right across from building B. The third floor, the dormered attic space, which is what it was shown in the architectural review, the new owner of that space, and that has a total of 2 units, one 2-bedroom unit and a 3-bedroom unit. As they were redoing the layout for one of the units, it ended up putting some residential space on that upper floor, that third floor. So it wasn't just dormered attic; it actually becomes the third floor by building code definition. So the building looks the same. It's just a reworking of some of that residential space.
all right.
Thank you.
We just go quick around the board to ask you if you think you're ready for conditional or not. I think we have a mix here because the SWIP is not ready yet. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, my question is, how do we go forward with seeker without this SWIP amendment, which is what Don has recommended?
And, yep. Ben? Oh, you're still muted, Ben, sorry.
Ben, you were muted.
Sorry, I agree, and there's too many other little changes that we need to consider.
All right. Nicole?
I don't really see a problem with going forward with it tonight, but if majority of you feel like it should be deferred, that's up to you.
Yep. All right.
But some of these things, I think, could be
Conditional. Right, Bob?
Yeah. I agree that I think we need to have the SWIP before we can move forward with this.
Joan?
I'm leaning more with Nicole, but I'm very flexible, so I'm okay with waiting on the SWIP.
And Ahmed?
I'm leaning with Peter and the others. I think waiting on that seem a prudent thing to do.
Yeah. All right, thanks, guys. I think we want to make sure we have all the I's dotted and T's crossed that Don's comfortable with as well. So I think we'll go with that. At this time, I move that we adjourn the public hearing to November 19th, is it? 2020.
second it.
Moved and seconded to adjourn the public hearing. Call to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And I think if we can get the SWIP, and we don't know what kind of soil is under there for drainage, if you're talking about that, the pervious surface, which is great to have, but I think we gotta see the numbers to move forward on seeker. Let's go with F. Nicole?
I move that the planning board defer action on the Eastdale Village Lot 13 WB subdivision special use permit for lot ORT and 11th amended site plan application, and direct the applicant to respond in writing to comments of all reviewing departments and agencies. Said responses to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness, included but not limited to the following 1 through 11.
Second.
And 11 includes our comments tonight, okay. All right, moved and seconded, call to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 7-0. We kind of lumped this together, Jeff, but we really want to make sure we have that squared away, and we'll see you next month.
Sure.
I think,
Understood.
yeah.
And just for clarity, as I respond to this, the board, if I read the board correctly, you're not really looking for a new layout on the bank parcel, but more along the lines of a mechanism that Eric was referring to, so that at such time as we have a solid tenant there, that we are required to come back with you with a revised layout. Is that acceptable?
Yeah,
as
that's
part of the response?
satisfactory. Yeah, I don't want you to go through extra efforts there at this time, but, it's a little more landscaping as we discussed, and
Yes.
and the SWIP from a seeker standpoint, and.
Good. Thank you.
And I think it's the 26th is
The deadline is October 26th, yeah.
Right, we usually only have like 3 days. I got all the time in the world.
Well, you got a
This
whole
is
week,
great.
and, yeah, so, half.
Thank you.
So that was, all right. Next up is Locust Grove Crossing, and that's to be adjourned, so I moved the planning board adjourn the public hearing to November 19th, 2020.
Second.
Moved and seconded, called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 7-0. That's it for the public hearings. This time I move that we allow public comment on any other agenda items. Please ask that you limit
Second.
your comments to no more than 3 minutes, and the board will consider them during the meeting, but not respond to them. I heard a second. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on any other agenda items tonight? Please star 6 to unmute, or star 9 to raise your hand on the phone, or raise your hand with the Zoom call right at the bottom of the screen.
I'm not seeing anyone. Wait, okay, there's one person with a raised hand. Ally? I need to unmute you.
Hello?
Yep, there we go.
Yep. Ally? Okay.
Hi, my name is Allie Bob. I live at 2021 Route 9D. I am the White House directly across from the cemetery. And I am just really worried about the South Hills Commons proposal. I did write an email to the clerk. I'm pretty sure that's how I'm supposed to get on the record. Is that correct?
Did you get the letter?
Did you get? Yeah, I mean, if you write, I mean, written comments are always accepted.
Okay. I'm just not sure if I didn't get any response.
and
I've
they'll
been in touch with a few of the other town people, but I'm worried about a few different things. I'll briefly go into them. I'm worried about light and noise pollution. Right now, there's a beautiful woodland area behind us, behind this 5 strip of houses, and it's gonna be destroyed. I mean, I know that they're saying they don't want to cut down too many trees, but we already see like straight through the woods in the winter. It's not like there's trees that are very full in the winter.
Yeah.
It's going to have a terrible effect on the wildlife. There are tons of birds and critters and deer. I mean, we've seen 3 deer get hit on this road in the last year of living here. And it's just extremely congested in this area. In rush hour, we'll have cars stopped from the light at Delavaran, like all the way to our house. It's extremely dangerous to pull out of the driveway. It's extremely dangerous to pull into and out of the cemetery. Chanticleer is also going to have no privacy if this goes through. But I guess that's basically it. I'm just very concerned about it. I feel like Poughkeepsie is beautiful because of the green areas, and this is why people want to live here, and why are we going to destroy more of them? And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, Sally. Is there anyone else on the call?
Let's see, again, any comments on any item on the agenda? Raise your hand. Star 6 to unmute if you're on the phone. I see Barbara?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did I unmute? Hi. I'm following with Ally, and I have been speaking about this. I'm Barbara Kaplan, and I'm the president of the Chanticleer Condominium Association, which is on the other, adjacent to the driveway, proposed driveway for this 25-unit rentals. What my concern is, and we've had our annual meeting and we've had some board meetings since our last time here, that we really feel that there should be some fencing going from the entranceway of the proposed property project all the way up to the end of the second building. The reason being is that we are, it appears, and I'm not an engineer, that the buildings are very, very close to the property line. And I think for the privacy of the people that may be renting, and for us, our own concern, that we would have some privacy and for a little noise abatement by having the fencing put up. So that's the first point. The second point is, on the last time we were here, it was proposed that there was going to be 50 parking spaces, 2 for each of the units. I can tell you for a fact that we have 19 units and there are 43 vehicles attached to those 19 units. And we have ample overflow parking for people to visit. Where are the people that are going to visit these people here? Or people who have more than 2 cars going to park? Are they going to park on 9D? Are they going to think, oh, that we're part of this proposed project and come and park in our parking lot because they'll see ample parking and think they're able to do that? So we really have concerns about the proposal that I saw the last time about ample parking on the proposed site. And it's really hard to turn around and say that they're comparing, the engineer the last time compared this RM project to our RN zoned project. We are owner occupied condominiums. We have 4 rentals, units have been rented, 4 rentals. Those rental people have to have insurance. They have to have a minimum of 1-year lease. Everyone of the age of over 16 is photographed, so we know who is on our property. If you're having at least 25 units, are just rentals. Are they 6-month rentals? Are they yearly rentals? What type of management is going to be there? We have a lot of concerns, and we don't want to be compared to rentals when we are owner-occupied units. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Barbara.
Okay, again, is there anyone else who would like to comment? Star 6 if you're on the phone to unmute yourself. If you're on the Zoom, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand. Not seeing anyone else. I think we're set, Carl.
All right. At this time, I move we resume the meeting. So here, second. Moved and seconded, call to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Aye.
All right. Let's move on with the Eastdale Village Dog Park Pavilion. Welcome back, Jeff.
If I can share my screen, I'd like to talk about the pavilion.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So again, as has been the custom on this project, all the various support buildings are subject to architectural review. So we have what was called a gazebo is really now a pavilion in the dog park. Forward here. There we go. So the dog park again, it's at the end of this parking lot here behind the medical building and residential building 1. The dog park is really on the in this corner of the site, and the gazebo is located in there. We have both a small dog and a large dog portion of the dog park. The pavilion's in the small dog portion. Thinking that was right fairer. So it's a very simple building, pillared building with a hip roof. Here's the front looking at it. The side view, we've really got double pillars on both sides, which you don't see until you're looking at the side of the pavilion. Again, concrete platform. Nice little decorative weather vane on top of 4-12 slope on the roof there. And here's an isometric of the building again to give you a sense of its proportion and scale. We're continuing the use of hardy products for the trim and the corner board and the fascia. It'll be painted Arctic white, and the roof will be shingled in the black onyx to match the rest of the roof shingles on the site.
Well, you're fading out there, Jeff. I don't know if you're getting further from the mic.
Sorry, anything I need to repeat?
Just that last sentence.
Oh, just architectural roof shingles, black onyx to match the rest of the site. That was the last part I was talking about.
Okay. All right, thanks. You have any comments, Eric, on it? All right, let's chime in. The rest of the board members, it's on for architecture.
Eric, you're on mute.
I don't hear Eric, so.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, we provided the board with the previous gazebo design for comparison, and the board can conduct architectural review. We provided a resolution for approval.
All right, thank you. One question I had is I know the bandstand in the town's green there has a handicap accessible spot. Is this bandstand, is this pavilion similar, or is it level with the ground, or how's that?
It is accessible from the sidewalk coming up from the parking area. There is accessible paved concrete sidewalk, yes.
Okay, great. Anyone else have any comments on the bandstand?
I just would say that Mr. Palladino has done it again. I wish you could lend him out. I mean, his dog park pavilion is more attractive than a lot of human residential offerings that we have seen.
He really does a good job, and that's right. I will thank him on your behalf, and I appreciate it.
Was it his idea to put a cat on top of the dog pavilion?
Well, yes, he did have a sign on there that called it the dog pound. We made him take that off. That went a little too far, but yeah. So.
Great. It's great.
All right, thanks. Any other comments from board members? I move we accept architectural as presented for the proposed pavilion gazebo Y1 in the dog park on lot 4W.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Jeff.
Next up, South Hills Commons. Who's here representing that?
I think it's Amy. Amy, you're on mute.
Amy? Oh.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that. So South Hills Commons the proposal is for the zoning to be modified from R20 to RM. The proposal is 2 multifamily buildings. The facade's the same for both. I know that was a question. There's porches on the second floor on the front, on the rear of the buildings, and then patios on the first floor at the rear of the buildings. The first floor patios will be used for access from the parking area behind building 2. You know, parking is a concern, so we can add parking spaces to the south of the southern drive and move the snow storage further south. So we can probably get another 20 spaces in there. The units are comprised of 2 bedrooms each, and the landscaping behind the residential homes will be, I'm waiting for the leaf off conditions to do the visual from 9D looking to the west. And then we'll fill in holes with landscaping, additional screening.
Do you want to put anything up on the screen to show?
Yeah, I'm trying, I'm sorry. So we can add the parking on the southern side down here. And then the tree line's not going to be disturbed beyond the proposed landscaping.
Okay.
So there'll be clearing for the point of construction, and then additional plantings will be put in strategically to fill in holes to block the view from the residential homes to the east.
We would need a tree protection.
The density was an issue. What?
I was going to say we would need a tree protection plan there as well to make sure that whatever you're not clearing is not damaged.
Okay. The density was an issue. So we figured out the density based on an acre reduction for steep slopes. So there's still going to be 4.43 acres of the entire site that remains undisturbed. So even though we're at the maximum density with what we're proposing right now, there's still a fair amount of land that's not going to be touched. There was questions about the AC units. They're going to be split systems, so there'll be ground-mounted units in between the shared doorway for each of the accesses. And there will be a mailbox. There will be year-round amenities on site, and they are proposing a monument sign. I will get you a detail of that.
Okay.
As far as noise goes, noise will be, I mean, obviously during construction, that'll be the biggest potential impact. They are going to be rentals. They are going to be yearly leases, and the rental price point is probably around $17.50 for each unit. As far as traffic, we are increasing trips by over 100, so the impact is minimal. I think that's it. Did I get everything? Any questions?
I just had a quick question. Are those
The lighting will be in conformance with the code, so that there won't be spillage over the property line, especially with the additional landscaping. And I talked to the applicant about putting a fence up behind, in between the condos and the proposed buildings.
Okay, and I see they're all labeled as 2-bedroom units.
They are. There's building 1 has 13 units. Building 2 has 12 units.
All right. You go to Kristen for her comments first.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Amy, for your presentation. So, as Amy alluded to, the application is before you for an advisory report. The planning board is responsible for providing the town board with an advisory report regarding the zoning district change from R20 to RM. So the board's going to work its way through a seeker review, the environmental component review, and be able to provide an advisory report to the town board based on their findings on a collective review of the project to a certain point. But ultimately, the town board is responsible for making the zoning district change. And I just wanted to make that clear and elaborate on that a little bit because I want to make sure those listening with concerns know that they would have another opportunity at minimum to go to the town board to also express their concerns to the town board as part of their review effort and public hearing component and process. From a staff perspective, I have 20 comments written up in my staff report about this project. Everything ranging from provide a bicycle rack detail to having a more, or encouraging the board to respectfully have a more in-depth conversation about the density that's proposed for the application. 25 units is allowable based on the maximum density calculation. However, from a planning perspective, it seems to necessitate some of the site constraints or the scale and scope of the project being what it is, causing some of these other concerns that have been outlined in my staff report. So with that, I'm not going to go through every comment that I've provided, and I know that Amy has hit on some of those items. Yeah. Of course, looking at additional landscaping and looking for that tree survey, understanding what came out of the requirements from SHPO in terms of a Phase 1A study. I know that there's still some back and forth regarding the seeker component of this, or I'm sorry, the SHPO component of this. So just getting an update perhaps on that this evening, if there is one. But again, this project is still very much under review, and it's all the details are a part of the staff record at this point in terms of my review, and then also engineering, which we also have, by the way, Carol Knapp from the town's environmental consulting firm taking a look at this project as we move along with respect to tree surveys. I know we'll be looping her back in. We already had her weigh in about there's no wetlands on site. There was a study provided by the applicant. Our consultant is in agreement with those findings. Okay. We also have a traffic consultant on board as well to be taking a look at site access from Route 9D and making sure that there is sufficient access to the property and some of those similar components. So I just want those who are listening to just understand that we are still sort of in the earlier stages of this review. Yep. And again, I encourage anyone who might have concerns, and again, this is just an educational thing, and I think that it's important for this type of a project, that those comments, become a part of an official record when a formal public hearing process is open. Currently, there is no formal public hearing open for this project, but you will be duly noticed when that time does come. And we encourage you to submit your comments in writing at that time or appear to speak as part of the record. So with that, tonight, staff is recommending that the board defer action, and that's it.
Discuss all these things.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Kristen. Yeah, there's quite a bit of concerns. I just had a question. Have you, Amy, have you explored what an as-of-right development would be without changing the zoning? Like how many houses could fit there?
It's R20 zoning now, so we have.
Or is it, I don't know if a road could fit in.
I'm sorry, what? I would say probably about 7. I haven't explored it, but given the discount for the steep slopes and the R20 zoning, and
Okay, just,
requirement for a road to be put in. Density-wise, we could probably get 7, but because of the steep slopes, I'm not sure what would be actually viable to develop.
and that would mean putting,
And what would happen is,
yeah, I didn't know if it'd be viable or not,
What?
so that's, wanted to see if you.
it would push all the houses closer to the rear property line of the existing houses because everything would be, you'd probably have to stay away from the steep slopes.
Yeah, so it would utilize more of the space at the bottom of the hill, I guess.
Right. I just have one question for Kristen. Is it possible to declare lead agent tonight?
Yeah, so I'm noticing in my staff report that we already declared a lead agency intent at the last meeting. So right now we're just deferring action because you've already declared it. And to date, no objections have been received. So I apologize for the confusion there.
So do you have to actually declare it, or is
No,
declaring the
the
intent-
planning board already did in July. So
We are.
we
Okay.
are. The planning board is the lead agency.
Okay.
All right, let's go around the board for comments on this one. Additional comments, start with Nicole this time.
So, Amy, quick question for you. These bottom apartments, they would have like a sliding door to go into. That would be their access. What about the top apartments?
There's a stairway that opens, it accesses 4 different units. So you go in the stairway, you could go up the stairs to the second floor apartments, and the first floor apartments could be accessed from the inside as well.
Okay. I had a couple other things here. So, okay, go ahead.
The ADA, the accessible units on the first floor in building 2 would be, they could be accessed from the parking lot directly through the patio door.
Okay,
Oh, so that's why the ADA was in the back.
go ahead. What were you saying, Carl?
So that explains why the ADA is listed in the back of the building. That seemed odd.
Yeah, so they would get out of their car and then go right to their sliding door apartment, right there.
Correct.
Okay. So, there was some information going back and forth about some trees that needed to be taken down. There was a piece of a tree that fell on someone's car. Is that?
I saw that.
Is that remedied? Or do you have any information on that?
I don't think it's remedied yet. I did talk to the client about it.
Is there
Our client's in contract.
I'm not.
Is there some?
Our client's in contract.
Oh, okay. So I was just gonna
So
say,
it's
is there
gonna take-
some trees that are gonna have to come down that are, dead or whatnot? Or you're not really sure?
It sounds like it's, well, those 2 I think it was 2 trees that were a nuisance for the condos. They would need to be either limbed or taken down. I'm not sure. I only saw that email yesterday.
Okay, and it was
from-
just those 2. There isn't any other trees on site that maybe are dead and need to be taken down before this went forward?
Not that I know of specifically, but now is the time to clear because of the bats.
Right.
So if there is
Yeah.
a tree that needs to come down,
Should take a
we
look.
need to happen now. So
Let me just chime in.
when the leaves,
Nicole, I saw that when I was out visiting the site on the upper level of Chanticleer, there was a big old tree that had recently been taken down. It was hollow inside, so it was obviously very dead and a concern. So maybe that was one of the ones. But Amy should double check with that and make sure that those are addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's all I had. Thanks.
sure.
All right, thanks. Bob?
Hi, I've got a question. You have 25 units, 50 parking places. Is there any occupancy limit defined for these units?
There could be, I mean, that would be a condition of the lease. I'm sure they wouldn't want more than 4 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. But we can add parking, like I said, down in this southern area and push the snow storage out. You can probably get another 20 spaces in there.
I mean, I don't know who is going to be in the, this is not what we would refer to as affordable housing, is that right?
It's market rate, so no, it's not affordable. I mean, not that it's not affordable, but it's.
Right, so you could have more than two cars per unit.
You
right?
could. You could also have 1 car per unit. Or
Yeah, I don't know
none.
what-
It is.
I don't-
I mean, is our code 2 per unit?
I'm just concerned about, the excess of cars that could be generated based on how many people are in a unit. And,
I know that's a concern. So we can add. We have room to add spaces.
and is
Visitor
there space around the buildings there where the tenants can sit outside?
Well, there's patios on the first floor and balconies on the second floor, and then there's amenity space here that's going to have community grills and picnic tables, things like that.
So is there any plans to look at some kind of noise buffer between those apartments and the houses in the Chanticleer?
We can consider a fence, or the vegetation provides a buffer for noise. But yeah, we'll consider it. We'll take a look at it.
It just seems that there's a possibility there's going to be noise that doesn't exist today that could interfere with the lives of the people in the surrounding areas. Vegetation will take a while to be effective, so I don't know what the answer is, but I just think that's a problem. And then
We could maybe relocate it.
Go ahead.
We could
sorry.
relocate it in between the 2 buildings, maybe in here. We are showing some amenity space in here, so the noise would be buffered by the buildings, and we could add vegetation. We'll take a look at it.
Yep.
And then the other building, you said the ADA units, you come in through the sliding door. Are there ADA units in the other building?
Yes, there's handicap parking here for building number 1. All the units will be accessible on the first floor.
Okay. Okay, that's all I've got.
Thanks, Bob. Joan, anything?
Hi. Yeah, looking at the layout, I do have some serious concerns over the sufficiency of the parking. I don't know whether you would consider like assigned parking spots to ensure that you've got like a divided between the various entrances, front and back. I feel like a slider entrance is a little unusual. But if someone's willing to enter into a lease knowing that that's how they have to access their unit from their parking spot, I guess that's a separate issue. I would like to see another layout with this parking that you think you can fit on here. It does seem to be a little dense for this space. I have serious concerns over the parking, I guess.
Okay.
All right, anything
That's
else?
it at this
All
point.
right. Ahmed, do you have anything on this plan?
I think I'm following what's been said with the parking and a more solid plan to how to accommodate that. And also the noise buffering. I'm not sure, I didn't hear a solid answer how that can be mitigated. So I would like to hear a better plan for it.
Yep. All right, thanks. Ben?
Yeah, I have one question. Can you hear me? I'm not muted, right? No.
We can
Okay,
hear
I do
you.
have one question. Both buildings say on here, 7,712 square feet. One is 13 units, one is 12 units. What's missing in the 13-unit building, are the units going to be smaller? Because it's the same overall square footage, but, you know, is something going to be lacking in the one with 13 units?
The units will be smaller. They'll have the same, everything else will be the same. They'll just be smaller. The extra square footage for an extra unit is picked up by reducing the square footage of, I'm not sure if they're going to add it on the first floor or the second floor, but they'll take square footage from.
You talked about the rent, would it be the same on smaller units?
I'm not sure how they would do that. The price point of $1,750 for a unit is, that's a roundabout number. About what a 2-bedroom is going for in the area now. So they may make it cheaper for the smaller units.
I don't know.
All right, thanks, Ben.
Okay, thank you.
I think, you're showing a quick architecture proposal, but, that, I had a similar question. It does not explain where that extra unit is and the windows, how the windows line up and et cetera, so you may want to consider just 24. Let me move on to Peter.
First, although the number of parking spaces satisfies the district requirement, I think we're going to take a close look at the snow storage because it doesn't look like there's a lot of extra space available there. Another thing is we're going to have to take a very close look at the SWIP, considering they have 25% slopes just directly to the west of this property. So how you propose to mitigate that change, very quick change in elevation is something that we're going to be very concerned about. We've approved several residential properties recently, including Eastdale, Hudson Heritage, Van Wagner Place, and Locust Grove Crossing. They all have one thing in common, and that is they are designed particularly well. And the building that you had proposed, which is basically a warehouse design, I don't think is going to be acceptable to this board. And I would suggest that you go visit Eastdale, Hudson Heritage, Van Wagner Place, Locust Grove Crossing, and other recently approved projects here that have really distinct and attractive design elements and that they're very human and user-friendly. I mentioned that to you the last time you were here, and I see you really haven't made any significant changes. But that particular style of building, particularly since there's a shift recently in Dutchess County and elsewhere from single-family homes to multifamily to attached housing, and this design is going to be with us for a long time, particularly since it's going to be placed very closely to potential neighbors. We want to have something to present that's a little bit more attractive than what you have proposed. Well, also, the landscaping plan that you have proposed as a buffer is totally inadequate. We're going to want you to probably at some later date fill that in if this project does go forward, because what you're proposing really is not acceptable. And that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Peter.
So Peter, I'm waiting for the leaf-off conditions to figure out where we need to fill in landscaping.
Well, they're all deciduous trees. I mean, there are no coniferous trees there. They're all deciduous. I mean, it doesn't require much guesswork. I mean, in another month, those trees are going to be bare 6 months or 7 months out of the year. So,
right. So I want to make sure that I'm with you on filling in the landscaping. That's what I'm getting at. Okay. And the building was it's the same building that was recently approved on a project on Sheep Road. So we added architectural features to kind of break it up, but
you're going to have to do a better job. You have a building there that's, let me see here. You have a building that's over 180 feet long. 180
It's
feet.
the same layout that was approved on Chief Road.
Yeah. There were no residential properties adjacent to that building, as I recall.
Okay.
You can
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, you're right, Peter. Thanks. My comments, yeah, if this moves forward, all of the above. You know, the neighbors' visual, noise, light, et cetera. I think, you know, one person mentioned a fence possibility. You know, you proposed some spruce trees, I think, along the northern boundary to Chanticleer. They have to be fairly spaced out because they grow fairly big. So something interspersed at least would be good, and or fence. And I agree with another concern of the neighbors is I noticed right away, you meet our code of parking, 2 spaces per unit, but a lot of times people have a party and you need some visitor spaces. I think you gotta look at that. And I did have a question on where are the AC units for these. I guess the way it was designed, they're just on pads. Is it multiple units then? It would be pad for each unit?
Well, it's going to be the split system, so they're pretty small units. So they'll be, from what I understand, there'll be 4 units on a pad. So
Okay,
in between
got it.
the shared stairway, there'll be a pad with the 4 air handlers.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Make sure I look at my. Yep, that's next. In traffic, yeah, we do have to look at how many people are coming and going. And my last main thing is sidewalk on 9D. We talked about it last time a little bit. You have not put anything on the plans, but I want to see that at least, you know, discussed with the DOT as well. In our town master plan discussion, I see people walking by. We've discussed it for a few years and more recently, because a lot of people are walking along that stretch of road to get up to South Hills Mall. And I saw one even walking with a package coming back from South Hills when I was visiting the site a couple days ago. So that needs to be explored.
Okay.
I don't know there may be some objects in the way, whether it's utility poles or whatnot, but you have to explore that where a sidewalk could fit.
The DOT is particular sometimes about whether it's on their right of way or whether we have
Yes,
to
yep.
give them an easement to it. So we'll work through it with the DOT and put it wherever they deem necessary.
Yeah,
And
you have-
Amy,
on the
I just
property
want
or-
to, Amy, I just want to point out that with respect to the sidewalk, and I know that the planning board does feel strongly about this, so this is something that they would really like you to consider and take a look at and find out some more information and propose. And ultimately, I think Eric might actually be more knowledgeable about this, but he's the one who brought up about if there is if the planning board feels that they would like the sidewalk to be a part of the site, that might actually factor into your maximum density calculation and would ultimately affect the number of units that would be allowable on the lot. So that is something else to think about, again, with the scale and scope that's being proposed in this particular location. But it is an ask that the planning board is seeking the sidewalks. I just want to make sure that was very clear.
Okay, it is. It's just where it's going to be and how the DOT wants to.
Sure.
It's either going to be on the property or in the right of way, wherever it's.
Have you had a conversation with the owner about possibly reducing the number of units for this area? You know, I mean, I'm not saying it has to be down to 5 units, but, you know, I mean, has there been any conversation?
They'd rather not. I mean, as far as, you know, the build out goes, it's more economical for them to keep this many units, but if it becomes a requirement, they're willing to work with the planning board and the town.
I think you should at least explore going to 24 to, with to Ben's point, and you could probably have might even be built easier for construction, carbon copy buildings.
Yeah, okay. I'll talk to him.
And the way the architecture winds up looking for the extra unit. All right, that's it for now, and
One more thing, because I didn't hear anyone else bring it up, but is there an update about your consultation with SHPO regarding your?
Yeah, so, yes, we had supplied them with information, they came back with comments, and the comments were addressed and resubmitted back to SHPO, so now we're waiting for their final sign-off. And I've heard, I don't know if the Chris website is causing problems for people, so I don't know if it's ready. Joe Diamond couldn't get the information off of Chris today, so.
Okay. Thank you.
It's pending. They didn't find anything.
I mean, you're not disturbing the foundation that's up on top of the hill and some of the old things there, but you got to make sure all the bases are covered. And
That was a comment about the foundation, so about the structural integrity of it. I'm not sure if it was from the planning department or the engineering consultant. Does that sound familiar, Kristen?
Well, I think Carl, I'm speaking specifically as to historic or archaeologically sensitive.
There's a historic foundation up on top of the hill, right?
Yeah, so they had to go out and do a survey, and they've now provided their findings. There were comments regarding the findings, and now they've addressed those concerns, SHPO's concerns, and now SHPO is now re-reviewing the information that has been provided to them.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Andy Learn, though, also did have a comment about the foundation remnants in the engineering department's report, so, yeah, I think that might be what Amy was referring to. And actually, we didn't hear from Don.
Yeah, I was just about to ask Don about the SWIP in particular, and what Peter brought up. Want to make sure there's no water flowing to the neighbors' houses.
Yeah, we certainly are going to want to see a SWIP here, as we do on all projects, or almost all projects. And as was Mike just mentioned, we just wanted to make sure that foundation remnant was evaluated and made sure that it was safe, whether it has to be removed. We also had quite a few other comments, sewer and water in particular.
Okay, thanks. Amy will look at those to address them, I guess, for the next go-round. All right. Anything else from board members? Or we're ready for a motion?
Move that the planning board defer further action on this application pending establishment of a lead agency.
Nicole, it's just deferring.
Yeah. What?
We already established lead agency. We got to just say defer further action.
Yep. Okay. So I move that the planning board defer further action on this application.
And respond to comments.
Yep. And direct the applicant to respond to comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies included but not limited to 1 through 10.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion passes 7-0. And I encourage you to really take a look at that, what's going to protect the neighbors, whether it's definitely more landscaping and or fencing. All right. Thanks, Amy.
See you in a second.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Delavaran Avenue subdivision. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, thank you. Delavaran is a 4.16 acre parcel in the town of Poughkeepsie and the village of Wappingers Falls. The majority is in the town of Poughkeepsie. This is the municipal line here. There's an existing house which is actually split by the municipal line. That house is going to remain. The proposal is for an additional 6 lots and an access road off of Delavaran. I know site distance was a concern, but that's been determined to be adequate.
All right.
Central water and central sewer, it is, the SHPO submission is pending.
Okay.
Village application is also pending, and the density, again, was calculated based on just the town of Poughkeepsie area. So we discounted the portion of the village of Wappingers for the calculation, and the zoning's R20, so we have a total of 7 lots with the existing house.
Was that changed, Amy?
That's lot one.
I remember we had a discussion that looks like more houses than we had initially discussed.
Looks like more houses?
Or was that?
We have an additional 6 lots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so for when the first time it was presented, there's an additional lot.
Okay. So I wasn't just seeing things. So, can I just ask, all those lots then are conforming as far as the zoning?
They are all over 20,000 square feet.
Okay, great.
And even lot 1, which the majority of it's in the town of Poughkeepsie, has over 20,000 square feet in the town of Poughkeepsie. And then the village portion is in addition to that.
Yep. Okay, thanks. Are you
Sure.
finished? Do you have anything else presentation-wise?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right.
Were there questions about?
Yep, we'll go on to that. Okay, let's move to Kristen for her comments.
Okay, so we jumped ahead a little bit, but yep, there is one existing residential lot, and previously it was presented in July as there would be five new residential lots. Now there are 6 new residential lots in addition to the one existing lot. And I know that Andy Learn had a conversation with Brian Watts about the necessity of a maximum density calculation. So I didn't see one as part of the submittal, and I know that Andy had spoken to Brian after the submission was made. So I'm just wondering if there's an update about that, but we will need that in order to, confirm that this is appropriate for this area. And we'll have, engineering as well take a look at that.
All right.
I do have the calculation. If we include, so we discount the road as the shared access way. If we just do the paved portion, the density and again, so discounting the road and discounting the area in the village, the density allows for 7.58 units. If we take the entire right-of-way of the road, it allows for 7. So worst case scenario, 7 is the max density.
You're saying 7 new lots?
7 total lots.
7 total,
which is-
okay.
which is what-
Just looking to confirm.
which is what they're proposing.
Okay, so we'll, in any case, we'll need to see the breakdown because it also takes into account like the steep slopes, if there's any, or, there are other elements documented in the code. So we'll just want to see that, and I know that Andy would like to see that as well.
Yep.
So I have a few comments here. The lots are almost exactly to the 20,000 square foot minimum there. So, just that's why that's pretty critical to have, and we just want to make sure that that's well documented. But again, this application appeared in July. At that point, it was a preliminary discussion. Now this evening, staff is recommending that the board adopt a seeker lead agency intent and defer action. I have provided a recommendation to adopt a seeker lead agency intent and defer or to just defer action. I think that it came down to a discussion I was going to have if we had an update about the maximum density calculation with Andy prior to this evening's meeting, but I hadn't heard anything or heard an update. So, you know, I'm almost looking to Lisa, if you're still on the line, for some guidance there. But Andy seemed to think that it was okay to move ahead with the seeker lead agency intent at this point, just to be able to get some input from other agencies and not delay that circulation for that reason.
You have any comment on that, Lisa?
I agree that, I mean, the circulation alone is not any type of endorsement of the project. It's just a, you know, here's what we have in front of us. If the plan were to change substantially because there were modifications needed to, because of the density requirements, then it would need to be recirculated, but we certainly can circulate now and start the process and hear the comments of others.
All right, thanks, Lisa.
Great. And then I just have a couple of other items. One is that I met with the applicant's engineer and Mark Pfeiffer, our town highway superintendent, as well as Andy Learn, town engineer, on site to review site lines, site distances. So there, you know, at least that conversation is actively underway, as well as the requirements for the road, which is to be dedicated to the town. So Mark Pfeiffer is on board. He has seen the recent plans. He was out on the site and talked through what he would be looking for. So the plan in front of you is largely approved by Mark. Of course, he'll have to review it officially for any permitting and then, of course, deeding over and all of that.
Okay.
And then again, this property 1 or lot 1 is divided by the town of Poughkeepsie, but also the village of Wappingers Falls. So this will be circulated to, and has been circulated as presented and submitted to the village for review, for comments, but will also be circulated as part of the environmental review effort. Just thought the board should note that, and I wanted to make sure it was on the record.
All right, thanks, Kristen. Don, let's hear your take on this project.
We certainly, at this point, have a lot of comments since this project is fairly new, including the SWIP, which in this case is pretty much just an erosion sediment control plan. We had comments about blasting. Kristen already covered the maximum density calculations. We need to work out water and sewer, and those are probably the highlights.
All right, thanks. Yeah, hopefully no blasting is needed. There's some other houses nearby, close by, so. It's a fairly flat lot.
Yeah, the FEAF said that there was bedrock at the surface, so we're thinking some of that's going to have to be removed somehow, so we're just asking how.
Okay, that's important then, because that probably underlies a lot of the area. All right. Let's go around the board for comments as well. Start with Peter this time.
Just one question. We have lot 2 is 20,028 square feet. Lot 3 is 20,000.72. Lot 4, 20,003 square feet. Lot 5, 20,002 square feet. Lot 6, 20,003 square feet, and Lot 7, 20,002 square feet. I mean, that's cutting it very close. Were these lots CAD generated, or did you have a survey done to determine the square footage of those lots? Do you have meets and bounds that you can share with us?
The outbounds were survey generated. The interior lot lines were generated by CAD, and the meets and bounds can be provided.
All right, can you provide them to Don so he can take a look at them? Because they're so close. You know, there's very little room for error here, and we probably want to take a look at that. Is that okay?
That's fine. Don, would you prefer having the AutoCAD drawing just so you can run it around that way instead of whatever you prefer?
Yeah, that'd probably be fine.
Okay.
Thanks. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Peter. And Ben had to step out, so Nicole.
Is there any type of lighting plan with this? Or because you're going to be dedicating this to the town, will there be a lighting plan at all?
There can be, if the town requires lighting for streets of this length, we'll certainly provide.
I mean, I would assume they probably would, right?
Yes, I believe that was discussed on site. And again, that's an item, Nicole, I can absolutely follow up with Mark Pfeiffer about.
Thank you.
You talking about like a street light for a new road? Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Bob?
Yeah, I just a little confused about where the existing house is relative to, there's an auto parts store when you first come off 9D. You go around a couple of curves and then eventually Mount Alvernia is on the left. Where does it fit between those?
It's kind of across from the water tower, Bob. You know where the water tower is?
Yeah, right,
It's
okay.
just past the water tower on the right-hand side.
Just before you get to the water tower coming from 9D.
You'll see there's a mirror on the road, Bob, across from the house, because the sight distance there is so poor.
Yeah, I was looking at the satellite view of the area and trying to map it to the drawings I saw, but I didn't. But, you know, I saw the water tower, so I know where that is. Thanks.
Yep.
I don't have any other questions.
All right, thanks, Bob. Joan?
There. Has there been any consideration to a buffer for the west side of the property? There's notes in here about it being closed and whether we would want to consider a landscape buffering. Yeah, I guess along that western boundary.
We could add trees along the, along the property line.
Okay. Okay, yeah, and, you know, I guess I share the issues raised by the other members, but other than the tree issue, that's the only thing new that I would offer. So, thank you.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, it's a good concern because I believe there's another house right nearby there on the west of it, as well as down to the east. All right, let me go to Ahmed. Any comments on this project?
I can share the same opinion presented before, so no additional comments.
All right, thank you. And my 2 cents is the same thing. As long as Mark approves the road, that's good. He generally doesn't like new cul-de-sacs, but as long as it's big enough for his turnaround. And engineering's going to address the water sewer issues as well as the SWIP. So my only other comment is to make sure it's protected from the other neighbors as Joan had mentioned.
Carl?
Peter's got a question.
Oh, yep, Peter?
There was some discussion about the nesting of the bald eagles. Did we put that to rest?
Yeah, that was my next question, actually.
I did not get an update from Carol Knapp just yet, Peter, so I will, we'll certainly have more information about that. And again, this is going to be circulated for lead agencies, so those agencies are going to officially have a chance to weigh in as a part of the circulation too.
That'll be good.
And also to that end, I remember on site, I think Brian Watts had alluded to Amy, to you guys submitting to SHPO for this project as well. I didn't know if you had an update.
Right. No, I think we were waiting for the circulation to begin.
All right.
Yeah, it's pending.
Okay.
The area, yeah.
Yeah, so just provide, you know, any documentation like any other project whenever that's available. We need that for the record.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Guess we're ready for a motion.
I move that the planning board declare its intent to be lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed project as an unlisted action and authorize the planning department circulation of a notice of said intent dated October 15th, 2020, a copy of the EAF and a copy of the application to the identified involved agencies.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Ben? Oops, Ben's out. Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0.
Thanks,
I
everyone.
move that
Oh,
I
sorry.
move that, sorry.
Go ahead.
I move that the planning board defer further action on this application pending establishment of lead agency. Direct the applicant to respond to comments in writing of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, included but not limited to the following 1 through 11.
Second.
And does that include our comments from tonight?
No, and 12, including comments from tonight.
Seconded again.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Ben? Sorry. Ben's had to leave for tonight. Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0. All right. Thanks,
Thank
Dana.
you. Have a good night.
You too. Next up is Wells Fargo, 1863 South Road. Who's on here to represent Wells Fargo tonight?
Hi, it's Josh Wagner with GMR. We're the design firm for with Wells Fargo.
All right. I'm going to do a brief presentation on what you're doing here.
Sure, yeah, I can share my screen. So this is an exterior lighting upgrade to comply with the New York State statute regarding ATMs. If you guys are aware, we have to have 2-foot candles within 50 foot at 5 foot above grade. That's the basic New York statute. There are plenty more that I can dive more into if we need to. But this is a simple exterior lighting upgrade. We're adding 5 new poles. 2 of them will be replacing existing poles. 3 of them will be brand new poles, excuse me. We'll be replacing 1 pole on the right, as well as replacing canopy fixtures to meet that 2-foot candle, which you can see down here in the left-hand corner, 2-foot candle minimum that we have, which is 2.4. So this is just a nationwide exterior lighting upgrade that Wells Fargo is completing that we did a lighting design for. So be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thanks. Eric, this is yours for comments.
Sure, that sounds good. Yeah, it's basically, this site plan is basically a lighting plan. There are no other site improvements other than the lighting on the building and freestanding that are proposed. So it is a seeker type 2 action. It does not require any seeker environmental review. And staff had a few technical comments. I think basically no objection to to higher levels of lighting for security. We did provide the board with a copy of the New York State banking law lighting standards for your use, and some guidance there. We thought that a conversation with someone at Wells Fargo indicated that town's code for lighting beyond the property line could probably be complied with some minor adjustments to the plan with respect to the off-site lighting. And then on-site, we just thought that the levels that are greatly in excess of the banking code as well as the town could probably be reduced under in the vicinity of the canopy, not to minimum levels, but to just to avoid hotspots in the area.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Eric. Let's go around the board for this. Yeah, just my quick look at the plan initially is it's way overlit. It's coming over spilling over the sides quite a bit. If the code is 5 and you have 75 foot candles, I don't know if your bank has a different code than New York State. They may want to exceed it a little, but we'll see. Let me go around and see what other board members have.
Our max foot candles on site are 31 foot candles.
All right. Start with Peter.
Generally, it looks fine to me. I will have to say I received an email from someone who wrote, "I'm writing in opposition to the lighting improvements to the Wells Fargo Bank." It was signed J. Dillinger.
I bet he gets a lot of comments on that.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Peter. Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It does look like there's some light spillage at the property lines, but that particular property is right on Route 9. So I'm not sure that that's particularly a bad thing. It's not like there's any residential houses that surround that. It's all commercial right there.
Yep.
So that's really all I have to say.
Yep. And similar to that, I think they're proposing 4,000 for the temperature. We're generally trying to keep to 3,000 with our things, but being a bank and the ATM there, 4,000 may be acceptable. If anybody has anything to say other than that, let me know. Bob?
Yeah, it looks fine to me, and I don't have any problems, and I know better than to try to compete with Peter's joke writer.
Joan?
Yeah, I would agree with Nicole and Peter and Bob. I think it's fine, even though it may exceed what is preferred, given its location. It may be beneficial, I suppose.
And Ahmed?
I'm in agreement also. It looks good, and it's good to have safety and night eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree. As I started out at the beginning, it's good to have the lights brighter than they are now, but want to make sure you work with Eric's staff to make sure it's not spilling over the property line and not be overly bright than needed.
We can absolutely make some site improvements. The problem is in New York, when New York comes and surveys the site, they don't look at property lines. We have to design out past the property lines, unfortunately. And if we don't comply, we get fined. So that's the reason for lighting over the property line, unfortunately. We don't like to do that. In every other state, we don't do that. But New York, unfortunately, in their law, it says property lines don't matter. So that's the reason for that.
One of the things, this is Josh, I'm the attorney for the planning board and the zoning board. And it is possible that if you're not able to shield the lights in some way, you may need to go to the ZBA to get a variance to allow you to have them over the property line.
Yeah, we're more than happy to do that if this doesn't get approved. But like I said, we do have to comply with the New York State statute. It's just our prerogative, so we're definitely going to try to do that.
Okay.
It just seemed brighter than the New York State statute as well. So in the way I was looking at reading it, so. Again, work with Eric on making sure that comes through.
Yep, we'll try to match every ordinance as well as meet the New York State statute. We can definitely try to do that.
All right. I think we're ready for motions.
I move that the planning board classify the proposed activity as a type 2 action that is not subject to seeker review pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5C7 of the seeker regulations.
Second.
Moved and seconded for seeker. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0.
I move that the planning board waive the site plan public hearing for this project in accordance with Town Code 210-151D.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0.
I move that the planning board grant conditional site plan approval for the Wells Fargo 1863 South Road site plan application, subject to the following. Respond to comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies. Said responses to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness, inclusive of, but not limited to, 1 through 7.
Second.
Moved and seconded for grant conditional. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0. All right, good luck, and
Thank you all. Y'all have a good night.
have a good night. Next up, 1 Dutchess Avenue.
That is off the agenda this evening by request of the applicant.
Oh, okay, I missed that at the beginning. And I was wondering why we needed it on, because there's a few things still to be resolved. All right, we have a few cleanup items, some time extensions. Item equities. I move that the planning board grant 2 90-day time extensions of conditional minor subdivision approval from October 27th, 2020, forward to April 25th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded for time extension. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0.
Can I ask Eric a quick question
Sure.
regarding Modi? Or do we still have a plan in place where the parking there is being monitored?
Yes,
Yes.
for the next 3 years.
Great, thanks.
Yep. Up next, the Dahlia site plan time extension. I move that the planning board grant a 90-day time extension of conditional site plan approval from November 12th, 2020, forward to February 10th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next up, is Mazda expansion, 109, time extension. I move that the planning board grant 2 90-day time extensions of conditional special use permit and site plan approval from November 21st, 2020, forward to May 20, 2021, noting that no further time extensions are available.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0. Last on the agenda is Center Point Commercial Development time extension. And I move that the planning board grant 2 90-day time extensions of conditional site plan approval from November 21st, 2020, forward to May 20th, 2021, noting that no further time extensions are available.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question by roll call vote. Peter?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Ahmed?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0. Does anyone else have any business to bring up before the board tonight?
I just have one item for the members of the planning board to just think about. The CAC, the Town's Conservation Advisory Commission, will be starting work probably next month on a natural resource inventory, an open space plan.
Great.
It's a project that is meant to sort of follow from the comprehensive plan, which is also currently underway. It's being funded in part by a grant from the New York State Estuary Program at the DEC. CAC has is a relatively small group. We're looking to maybe supplement add a person or persons to that group for the purposes of working on the plan. So it would be a temporary assignment. So if somebody is interested, would like to know more about that, one of the members of the planning board, please let me know. It's something ultimately that the town board is going to have to appoint persons to, but we'll be looking to do that probably in the beginning of November. So, think about it. Call me if you have any questions, and we'll talk about what it would involve. All right?
Sounds good.
All right.
It's good to get that finally going. Yeah. Any other business or a motion?
I motion that we terminate meeting.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
And my commendations to the staff and Mike and whoever else kept this meeting to a little over 2 hours.
I know. I don't know what to do with
Oh, yeah,
it
I'll
tonight.
take credit for that, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Thanks and
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
welcome again to Ahmed, and thanks everyone for joining.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Night.